What's up, everybody? It's your boy Showtimedr. Real quick, before I get into the topic of this video, I forgot to mention something on the channel update video. I am going to be doing more comedy skits. We got a possible collaboration coming sometime within the next couple days. So if that falls through for whatever reason, I'll just go record it myself. But there will be more Netmarble CEO, so don't worry about that. So the topic of this video is going to be my experiences working at banks, because it's been kind of topical because banks have been in the news, ever since the big collapse in 2008, but especially the last couple of years with the whole, scammer, people making fake accounts, that type of thing. And I've worked for a lot of banks, and I kind of want to share with you guys the experience of what it's like, what goes on, my experiences with it, and also tell you why I will never work at a bank again. So we'll get into it now. So back in, God, I'm trying to remember the year. It was probably like 2005 or 2004, somewhere in that time. I was working for Washington Mutual, which I can say that now because they've folded. They've turned into Chase. I think Chase bought them out since then. And this was like maybe a year before that happened. So I'm working at Washington Mutual, and it's an office setting. It's not the teller jobs. I never worked as an actual teller anywhere, for people that are wondering. But it's an office setting, and so, you go in there, you got paperwork to do, you got transactions to file. And, well, when I was actually brought in there, though, I was basically I don't want to say like superintendent, like I was in charge of the building or anything, but I was in charge of like the supplies. I was the person that was in charge of like making sure the mail was all sent and properly sorted and all that. I wasn't the actual mailroom guy, but I was the guy that kind of checked on everything. And also the guy that was in charge of getting supplies for like the machines, it needs ink, it needs toner, it needs whatever repairs. I was the guy that they went through for all that stuff in the entire office. So, everyone would come up to me, yo, I need whatever folder or whatever. And it was always like these really picky people, like, I don't want manila envelopes. I want yellow number 2 envelopes. Well, I need that because I sort them this way. And, like people with like, for lack of a better term, disorders on how they do things and they can't change it up. So it was a little frustrating, but it was all right. Well, the issue was I started working for this lady, and she was nice, and, everyone in this place that I worked at, they used to tell me, like, yeah, work for her, man, and then after 3 months, you'll get hired here. And I worked for her, so-and-so worked for her, this guy worked for her, and I was like, cool, okay, cool, because, you get hired at a bank, you're making some pretty good money normally. At the time, before the financial collapse, I forgot how much money it was. It was probably in like the $13 to $14 range, which, considering, no college experience and cost of living at the time, was actually pretty decent. Well, anyway, so I worked this job for like a month plus or so, and I'm a temp. I'm a temporary. For those who don't know what a temp is, essentially you get hired through an agency. They contract out through another agency, a third party. And they can basically get rid of you at any time, and they don't have to pay you benefits and that, etc. But, well, anyway, so, but like I said, after 3 months, everyone was telling me, oh yeah, you'll get hired, dude, and you'll get promoted, and you can do whatever you want. So I was like, cool. Well, we get to a point where, I guess, I found out later, I didn't know at the time, but that particular Washington Mutual, they got their management swept out, and they were basically about to close the building within a couple months, but it was on the down low, so most people didn't know that, including my boss. Well, anyways, but she got the order the entire building got the order to get rid of all the temps, which there were temps working in various departments. Well, my boss comes up to me, and unbeknownst to me at the time, this is all unbeknownst, my boss comes up to me, she's like, oh yeah, John, my name's John, if people don't know, John, I need your badge so that I can give you more access. And this was on a Friday. And immediately my red flag goes up because I'm like, well, she wants to take my badge on a Friday. I'm like, fuck, that means I'm probably getting fired. So I'm like, oh, well. So I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, fine. And then I needed the badge back because there was some function I had to do that I really needed the badge for. I think it had to do with the mail, like delivery or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay. She gives it back to me, and I go out and I do it. And I completely forgot at this point. I'm like, okay, guys, I'll see you later. She's like, oh, John, wait. You need to give me the badge. I'm like, oh, yeah, here you go. And like everyone that was on my team, they're kind of looking up at me with like the look of death, you know, like dead man walking. Like, and like, I'm just like, fuck, I got fired. So I'm waiting until Saturday or Sunday. And I never got a call. Normally, the temp agency calls you and they're like, hey, yeah, we're going to have to end this assignment, but don't worry, we're going to get you another one, whatever. And I never got that call. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess she really was giving me access. So I go in on Monday. I'm there for 2 hours, and then my boss gets there. And my boss walks in. He's like, oh, John, hi, how are you? And like immediately disappears for like the next 2 hours, you know, after the greeting. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, hey, can I have my badge back? Oh, yeah, I'm still working on access. Hold on, hold on. And she just disappears. Well, so eventually I'm at my desk and I get a call from the temp agency. Oh, yeah, John, sorry, bro. Big miscommunication. We actually, you know, this assignment's ended. So please just get all your stuff and don't worry about it, buddy. We'll still pay you for the hours that you were there and whatever. Because the person I was going through, because they always assign you like a, you know, particular person that works you and however many other people. She never called me. Well, and she was supposed to. So at this point, I'm like super fucking embarrassed because I'm like, oh my god, I'm at a place I'm not supposed to be. I don't have the badge. So like the way that this building was secured, I the only reason I got in is because I told the secretary, I'm like, oh, so and so took my badge, so you know, I'm waiting to get it back. Like, oh, okay, she let me in, and she apparently wasn't supposed to do that, so I don't know if I got her in trouble. But I'm just like, well, fuck, I don't have the badge, then I can't like properly leave through the front door, and I'm just like, I was so embarrassed, and I'm like, this is gonna be like a big scene. I'm leaving early. Everyone's like super chatty. So what I literally did, I just went out the side door. I went out the side door, which is where like the mail and all that stuff was all taken care of, and I just walked out the grass in the courtyard and just walked to my car and left. Oh my god, I was so embarrassed. And I remember I got a call like Tuesday or Wednesday because I was pissed at that temp agency too for not calling me and telling me. So I was just like, oh, whatever. I just won't deal with them because this was the point in time. For those who went around in like 2004, 2005, you could literally quit a job on like a Wednesday or Thursday and have a new job ready to go on Monday with another temp job. Like it was so easy, and it was so eventually in 2008 that all disappeared. And you can kind of do it now, but it wasn't as good as it was then. So losing a job wasn't like this huge deal like it is now, and like it was, you know, within the last 10 years. But so I wasn't worried about that. It was just annoying to get lied to by my boss and then neglected by my agency. So I'm at home and I'm playing like Diablo 2, and I get a call on my phone, and this is like, oh no, that's that bank number. And I was like, fuck. I'm like, I just let go to voicemail. And then I listened to the voicemail. It's that same boss that lied to me. She's like, oh, John, you know, I waited at the door for you. You know, the door that I just told you was like secured by the secretary. I waited at the door for you so that I could say goodbye and apologize to you properly. But I'm so sorry that it turned out like this. And if you want, we can go have dinner. And I was just like, have dinner? Like, why the fuck would I want to have dinner with you? You fucking lied to me. So I just fucking like, you know, I just didn't answer. I didn't care. Like, I appreciate the apology, but I'm like, once you lie to me, you know, on something like that, because she could have just, you know, told me like, yo, hey, can I have your badge? And what am I gonna say? No, she's my fucking boss. I'll give you the badge. So, yeah, but don't make shit up to me and don't like. I hate that. Like, there's always that in bank culture, and I'll tell some more stories about banks later. There's always that thing where there's like that community, like either they don't like you or they're lying to you about a certain thing, but they don't ever tell you directly. You always hear about it through like a third party or Oh, it's so annoying, dude. It's like one of the most annoying things in the world. So anyway, so that was that job, and of course they folded, and fuck them, as far as I care. The way they treated me. Like, I've actually, fast forward to now real quick before I get into my other bank stories. I've gotten to the point now to where I will not work for you if you treat me like shit. I do not care how much you pay me. I do not care what the reputation is, whatever. You treat me like shit, fuck you, I'm gone. And I know there's a lot of people out there that can't do that because, they're living paycheck to paycheck and, they got a family to support or whatever. I'm lucky that I'm still, it's just me. So, well, anyways, fast forward to, and this one's going to be a doozy, guys. And I hope you understand that when I tell these story videos from now on, they're going to be long stories because this is my life experience and I have vivid memories of this stuff. I started working for a bank. I can't really name it because I'm technically on a contract with them that, I can't reveal, blah, 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 blah. So whatever, I won't name the bank. But I will say that they have been in the news a lot recently for scamming things. So you should be able to put the pieces together on who it is. And please don't, comment on it or anything. But anyways, so in what year was this? I believe it was the end of 2012. It might have been it was the end of 2011. Yeah, I think it was the end of 2011. So end of 2011, I was in a bad spot. I lost my car. I was living with a roommate that basically kicked me out of the room. And, we were just fighting. So it was just a bad situation. So I left him. I went to live with my mom. My mom, she was doing at the time, because that was the election, so she was doing the signature gathering, because she's an older lady. So she's doing the signature gathering for propositions and stuff like that. And she's making decent money. And, I'll always really appreciate my mother because she had a lot of mental illness, unfortunately, but she always loved me and she always did her best. And she suffered some horrific abuse in her life from, not my dad a little bit, but her previous husband especially. And just random stuff. That's another story I could probably tell sometime. But anyway, so we were living together and I was between work. But she always kept a roof over my head for about the first month and a half while I was out interviewing. And, I would have to take the bus across town, go interview and then hopefully get it, whatever. And so I did that and I eventually ended up getting a job. And so me and her were living out of motels for the better part of 8 months, I believe, right around there. And so, but by month 2 or 3, I think it was month 2, I got a job for this bank, and got pretty lucky. It was this department where we were basically processing automated loan payments. So you have a car, you set up through the bank. Hey, I wanted to debit my account this much on this day. Here's my signature or whatever. And we would input that into the system. And that was my very first function of what I would do. And so, I get hired and there's this lady, and she's a nice lady, but it was funny because she was it's the first time I ever worked for someone that was that much younger than me, because she was in her early 20s, I believe, at the time. So I'm working for her, and immediately as I start working, I think she had buyer's remorse on me because I didn't pick things up lickety split super fast, because there was a lot of complicated functions and the training was super suspect. And little did I know at the time, until I found out, the person that was training me was basically shit talking me to my boss. He doesn't take notes. It's well, how am I supposed to fucking take notes? There's no fucking paper you guys will let me use. And you can't take notes on the computer because they're using the computer. So then, I had to bring in my own pad and everything. And as I was saying, I was poor as fuck, because I'm living out of a motel with my mother. And so that was, really hard to get used to. And it took a couple days to get that all taken care of. But then she's shit-talking me. And she did this one thing that really pissed me off. And it was weird because she was supposedly this really nice person, everyone would tell me. But what happened was, on a Friday, we start training a new function after the function I just mentioned. I forget what the function was, but it was fairly complicated. And we start training it on a Friday with about an hour to go. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this function's going to take like 3 to 4 hours of training to fully learn the ins and outs of, don't do this, don't do that, do this, here's the exception, you know how it goes. And immediately, go home, spend the weekend, do whatever. Immediately come back on Monday. She walks to my desk right when I get there. Okay, we're going to keep training. I was like looking at him like, dude, I just got here. Like, let me set up and everything. And she's like super pissed. And she goes and shit talks me to the boss again. And then so my boss like calls me to the desk. And she's like, well, it just seems like you really don't want to be here. And I was a temp at the time, so my boss could have fired me like that. Like, if you actually get a job with the bank, it's harder for them to fire you. But she could have got rid of me like that if she really. And then so she's like, well, Michelle, that was the name of the girl that was training me. Michelle says that it seems like you don't really want to be here. And I was like, you know how my demeanor is if you've been watching my channel. I'm pretty laid back, chill, cool, like calm. And people mistake that a lot for disinterest or, uncaring or whatever. But, I'm a fucking introvert. Like, I'm not like, new thing, like, I'm not that guy. So, but dude, when she told me that and I became aware of the shit talking she was doing, I looked at my boss. I'm like, I never said that, like with that tone. And my boss immediately was just like, okay, well, you need to work on this and that and the other thing and blah, 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 blah. It's just like, what the fuck? Like, why would you say that, someone that's new there, well, it doesn't seem like he wants to do it. Why? Because I don't do shit like you do it? Like, that's fucking dumb. So, anyway, so there was luckily a guy on the team that, like, he basically was like, he took over the training and he wasn't as much of an asshole to me. Because I don't get it, for whatever reason, she wanted to be an asshole to me. So, he helped me train, got me caught up. And, there was some training issues, but overall it was good training. And eventually I became the second fastest worker on the team. Second most efficient worker on the team. There was a girl they hired after me who she was just always like ridiculous numbers, but I was the second fastest. And at the time I was really good. My wrist worked well, accuracy is really good, etc. And so I started learning more functions on the team. And there was another girl, like, and I know it's going to seem like I'm like shit talking girls, but you people have to understand the majority of workers at a bank are female. And with my, I got this deep voice and I'm I'm more of a manly man than a beta man. And I'm very not like, I don't know, like the best way to describe this. Essentially, I stand out a lot. My voice, my laugh, my demeanor, curly hair, 6'7". I was skinny at the time. Now I'm a bit fatter, and like it's fairly easy for me to rub people the wrong way. Unfortunately, like I even get comments on my YouTube videos. Your voice gives me headaches. Blah 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 blah. I was like, okay, well, it's my voice. So. Like, you want me to talk like this all the time so I can be happy and make you happy and be like, I got hit for 1 damage. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I'm a big League of Legends streamer. Oh my god. Would that make you fucking happy? It's just like stupid shit like that. So, and generally, the beta males that do work at the job, they're the ones that get all the promotions. They're the ones because they fit in more and they're more entertaining and they're more stylish, and it's just the way bank culture is. If you're more of a manly man, you're going to have more issues at bank culture. So, anyways, go back to the story. So, she teaches me a function, but she gave me like the shittiest training. Like it was even worse than the first lady because at least the first lady went over everything. She just like barely taught me like the basics, and like I go and start doing it. I was like, well, I've never seen this before. Hey, can you help me do this? I already told you what the... And she would like go to the manager and be like, this guy's bothering me after I've fully trained him and blah, 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 blah. I was like, do you want me to do this shit right or not? Because I guarantee you if I fuck this up, guess who it comes back on? Not you, me. So I need to protect myself. And at this point, I'm starting to like see how the team was. Like, okay, I got to be like really careful how I do things here and how I ask for things here, because I'll get fired if I rub someone the wrong way or even say the wrong thing. Like, it got pretty nuts. Well, Anyways, so I went to my boss and I'm like, look, like, I know how to do this. I know how to do this. There's this variable I have no idea what to fucking do. There's this other variable I have no idea what to fucking do. And she never covered it. So what do you want me to do? You want me to do it wrong? Oh, well, yeah, just go ask her. I'm like, okay, well, the boss says I can go ask her now. So I go and ask her, and she's got like this super pissy face because she was doing whatever she's doing. And I'm like, okay, but I just don't understand. Like, where is this one? Like, there was one thing that she told me, well, you should be able to find it. It should be right there, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, so she's going to show me how to find it, and then that'll be the end of it, because I'll know how to find it now. Well, she goes and she starts typing in the computer, and she's taking a long time. She's like, well, I don't know where this one is. I can't find it. And, like, I fucking gave her, like, the look of death. I was like, didn't you tell me that, it was definitely going to be there, and I was just missing it? Like, oh yeah, but you know how like when you catch somebody but they don't want to admit fault, that's what that was. So I immediately went and fucking told the manager on her and told her I was very fucking unhappy about that and that was fucked up. How much drama that created, you know, a nicer tone, but you know what I mean, like because I had to play the game. It's just like, well, if you guys are gonna shit talk me, okay. And then luckily she never fucked with me again, at least not to my face. Maybe she did, but whatever. Well, anyway, so fast forward on that team, and I'm still a temp about 2 months in, and they hadn't hired at this bank for, I forget exactly how long. It was like over a year. So basically temp to permanent, or temp to permanent. And jobs started to come up. And they have this really weird convoluted system for hiring. I'll get into it later, but essentially, I had to impress, right? So I really need this job because I need to be full time, and then I can start working a little bit of overtime. I get more benefits. I get, you know, mental health, all that, and there's like a 401k and like all this other cool stuff. So I was like, sweet, dude, that'll help me like, you know, pull myself out of the situation I'm in. And so I'm working real hard, and they brought in a batch of new temporary workers, and like John, can you train these ones? Sure. And I remember it. I was like, okay, like when I got trained, you know, people treated me like shit, so I'm gonna do my best to be a good trainer and be like, you know, super. Hey, I'll answer whatever questions. If you got a question, do you need to be, you know, you need to have a layout for the place. I gave him a tour of the place. No one did that shit for me. I told him when the food trucks all arrived. No one said did any of that type of thing for me. I'd introduce him to people you need to know, etc. You know, and so I thought I was a pretty good trainer. Well, unfortunately for me, one of the girls, she immediately like took in with the other. You know, they'll stick together type thing. So I had told her that I found a shortcut with this function that would save time, and it was 100% accurate, but it wasn't technically the way to do it, you know, in the policies and principles. But I told him, like, look, if you want to save yourself like a minute per transaction, all you have to do is look at this screen and that screen, and you can see whatever the difference is, and you can put in the numbers. So like, oh, okay, cool. And it was never wrong. Well, at the next meeting, because we have a once a week meeting, my boss like puts me on the spot. She's like, John, how do you do such and such function? And so I was like, well, you know, you do this, that. And I made sure to like kind of skip over what I told the other person and be like, then you do this, that, according to the policies and principles, blah, 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 blah. And my boss just looks at it, wrong. And I was like, what do you mean wrong? She's like, we're supposed to do it. And she laid out some additional policy that wasn't even fucking there. And so it was whatever. And she would always do stuff like that. Like she gave me a mistake when I forget exactly what it was about. I had gotten a digit wrong on a date. So a customer was getting debited on a date it didn't want to get debited. But they had written out this, like for instance, the 8th instead of the 4th. Or whatever, some numbers that look fairly similar. He had written the number and I pulled it up in the scan because we have a catalog of all the worksheets people send in. I'm like, dude, it says a 4 right there. He's like, well, yeah, but you should have went back and checked the date because there was like some previous date in the system. And I was like, no one ever taught me to do that. And she's like, well, it doesn't matter. You should have known. She just gave me the error anyways. So I was like, This is stupid shit. It's just like the gotcha. You know how you got that gotcha boss or that gotcha person that's just like, you messed up, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. And it's the same thing with video games. It's like, well, how come you didn't use Optimal Person 1000 to do this? Gotcha. You should have used Ability 2 here. Gotcha. It's like, whatever. Well, so that person betrayed me after I trained them. And the other two people I trained, they were just working it for temp jobs. Like, one of them actually, she was like saving money to go to Europe when she was like in her late teens, early 20s, and I was like, damn, dude, I wish I'd have thought of that when I was in there. So the other two people I trained, they quit. And then, but that always pissed me off because I was like, I intentionally made sure to train you fucking the best way possible. I was nice to you. I showed you around. I gave you a car ride when we had to go to the other building, and you treat me like shit. So at that point, I was just like done with that whole team. And so anyway, so like I was saying, the attempt to hire thing comes up and I apply. Well, this bank, they have this really convoluted process of hiring. First, you have a phone interview with an HR person. The HR person is just basically there to see that, do you meet the requirements? Are you crazy? And as long as you're not asking for too much money, because of course they do that bullshit where it's like, this job pays anywhere from whatever the fuck, $12.50 to $18. And God forbid if you ask for anything above $12.50, oh my god, they will like get rid of you instantly. So anyway, so then go through that, and then about a couple weeks later, you have your first roundtable interview. A roundtable interview is a bunch of random managers from whatever departments are hiring. They'll come down and they sit with you at a table for an hour and they do all that bullshit question, you know, like, what would you say is your greatest weakness? Describe a situation where you lost control and how you reacted, you know, like all that stupid shit. That's just wasting time. But, you know, I went over like my experiences and I went over, this is what I do, this is how I interact with your team, this is how I interact with your team. This is, you know, all those situational dumb questions that they ask. And I impressed in the interview. Like, I'm a very good fucking interview. Like, probably even better than I'm a worker. Which is funny, but... So anyways, and then they have another fucking interview after they whittle down everybody, like... And it's basically the same thing. So, answer more dumb questions. And I've since learned better ways to interview and impress in interviews. But I was still pretty good back then, so... Well, anyway, so I get the job, me and like 5 other people. Well, what happens is I thought I was applying for a job on my team, and there were openings on my team, but my manager hated me so much that my manager's just like, oh yeah, so-and-so is going to hire you. And so I went to work for one of the other teams, and it was basically it was like a support team. Like, they support all the other teams doing various functions. It'd take too long to explain, but so I started working for this lady, and she was really kind. Like, she would cook, you know, all the time. She would bring like goodies, you know, like full meals or cookies or desserts or whatever. And it was really cool because I'm a foodie. So we would do like potlucks all the time, and it was pretty fun. But first, and I gotta say, like, the first, other than one person, the first 2.5 or so years I was on that team, those were all good fucking people, man. I really enjoyed working. I shouldn't say like really enjoyed, but you know, like overall my experience there, those were the good times. Now I'll fast forward this 2.5 years. We had, and unbeknownst to me, the person that I just put over as really nice actually started to turn into a bit of a, I don't even know how to describe it. Not nice. But so at this point I was fairly senior on the team because I was probably there was 10 people on the team. I was like the third longest, just being there 2.5 years because so many other people had quit or moved on or gone to other teams or whatever. And so, you know, I had some seniority and I had respect and blah, 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 blah. Well, unbeknownst to me at the time, my boss hired... Like, I'm trying to think, how do I technically say this? The best friend of another manager, is that right? maybe not the best friend, but basically a friend of another manager. Which, like I said, they have this convoluted hiring process. So, you're telling me you interview like 100 people, but the person who's the best for the job just happens to be the best friend. And this guy had no bank experience. He's from Africa. It was a white dude, by the way. He's from Africa. And he was just literally looking for a place to work. I think his previous job was at GameStop, which, GameStop is GameStop. It's not a bank. But whatever, like, she turned down people with like 5 years experience and shit for this guy. So, okay, whatever. Like, I didn't know it at the time. And so I like this guy, and I'm cool with this guy. And I'm like, okay, hey, let's be friends, whatever. And the weird thing was, there was another girl that got hired recently on another team. And I was like, oh, she's kind of cute. But then it was like, whatever, it's a bank. Like, you don't hit on people at banks because it's just like waiting for shit to happen. Well, they start eating lunch together like every day. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? They're moving fast because they both got hired, not even like a week ago. And they're fucking eating lunch every day. And she's coming over talking to him and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's odd. And that always stuck out in my mind. I was like, that's odd. Like, how did they fucking get to know? Well, unbeknownst to me, they were dating already previously before they'd even got here. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. And to avoid conflict of interest, she was put on another team. Well, come to find out, because we eventually got a new person hired to our team. And it was a lady. She was like anime head, super introvert, talks about having cats, whatever. And she's like 19 or 20. And so, but she was cool too. We could talk about anime, we could talk about video games, and it was pretty fun. But like, they were all friends before this, and I came to find out that she is the daughter of another manager downstairs that does the hiring. She was one of the people that sat in on my interviews. And so now I'm thinking, well, this is weird because like, you're hiring people that are like all, and as I would find out later, because she'd keep hiring people, there were two people downstairs that worked in this other office, a guy and a girl. Now, they were like in their 40s or 50s, whatever. In the span of time, my boss hires, relating to the girl, hires her daughter's best friend, hires her other daughter's best friend, hires her brother-in-law, because he was married to... Is that the way it worked? I forget how it worked. It was something like that. Well, anyways, either she was married to her sister, or he was married to her... Or, excuse me, he was married to her sister, or she was married to her brother. Whatever it was one of those. And this all happened in the span of like 2 months. And then relating to the guy also owned a 7-Eleven, or I guess a couple 7-Elevens outside. He hired the guy that worked at the 7-Eleven that this guy ran, and he also hired like one of his other, like, how do you say this? It was like a friend, I guess, is what I'm assuming. There could have been more there, but I couldn't prove it, so... 6 people in the span of, I think it was like about 4 months at that point. And they were all related to these 2 people downstairs. So at that point, you know what's going on. Like, you're just hiring friends and family of, people like it. You can't tell me you interview hundreds of people multiple times and these are those people. And they weren't bad people per se. It's just that, like I said, the guy worked at GameStop. The girl that was on my team worked at GameStop. The other guy that was on my team, he worked at a hotel. And the other guy, like I said, worked at a 7-Eleven. The one girl he hired, or she hired rather, that was related to the guy, worked at that same station downstairs. So she was actually getting a little bit of a promotion. And she was really cool. I'm actually best friends with her to this day. And then, like I said, the girlfriend got hired. I don't even know if she worked anything. And I think that was most of them. But so it created these 2 factions on our team. We had basically the group that our boss hired that was like related to the downstairs manager somehow, or managers somehow. And then the rest of us that had been there already. And we tried to like commingle and chill, and there were some relationships at work, and there were some relationships that was just like, oh my god, like they were causing so much drama, and it got to be really hard, and there was actually a lot of conflict of interest stuff, just because if something, because I found out later there was one guy that would like spy on me. And like, if I was on break and I'm at my desk, and he would report to my boss, "Oh, this guy's not working," blah 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 blah, and there was like all types of dumb accusations levied against me, and like, I would eventually like confront them. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Are you mad at me for some reason? He's like, oh no, I'm not mad. Well, when you confront them directly, they're like little pussies, like, but then like the instant you leave, fuck that guy, he's a piece of shit. It's just like, and I didn't appreciate going to work in that environment all this time, because it was just like a really shitty. It made me hate that job, dude. And one of the reasons was we had a really cool director who eventually left for an asshole director, but he was really cool. He was there for like until the last year, and the last year that I worked there, I mean. And so I could always go to him and be like, yo, my manager's being like this, that, can I do this? And will you back me up? Yeah, sure, John, don't worry about it. Okay. Well, because like, say that one of those people that I mentioned did something wrong, or something really fucked up, or they levied some dumb charge or whatever. Well, I couldn't go to my boss because my boss loves them, and she would like, whenever the other managers on the floor or the director would be like, "Yo, they need to knock this shit off," or they're being too loud or whatever, she would be in the meeting room like apologizing to them. I'm not the one saying this, but you guys just need to consider being quiet, and I'm so sorry that it's come to this. And she would just like bloviate and fucking like apologize. So of course they're all sitting there like, we're entitled, we're better than this. Oh, we don't do. Oh, that tickled. And like they wouldn't fucking. They'd go back to it like a couple days later, and it was just like you couldn't do anything because the boss wouldn't do anything unless she was forced to. And even if she did, it was just slap on the wrist. The supervisor, who was like kind of like the work director on our team, he was all buddies with them, so you couldn't go to him for anything because he wouldn't fucking do anything. And then whenever the director was gone, oh my god, dude, it was like so insane. And then my only thing after that, I could go to the head of the building, which of course the head of the building doesn't know what the fuck's going on because he's doing more important shit and he's on the other side of the building. So it's just like, you couldn't do anything. They could just do anything and get away with it. They could treat you like shit. They could assign you extra work. They could fuck you over. They could talk shit on you. And there was like nothing any of us could do. So a lot of people quit the team. And I tried to as well, but I could never get another position there after that because they would basically just like, they put a lot of shit that shouldn't have been on my record as far as hold on guys, I'm pulling up another video I've done. As far as, there would just be like dumb things, and I actually had a run-in with those girls I was talking about from my previous team. So I'm about to show you guys a video, and then I'll tell you what went on behind it. Let me just find it real quick, and then I'll add it. But yeah, long story short, if you're not, if you have testosterone, you probably want to stay away from a bank. Okay, hold on. I'm adding the capture right now. I found the video. And then I'm going to give you guys the story behind this video, because this is actually a, well, clearly it's going to show what actually went on. Expand it here. I'm sorry guys, I should have had this ready earlier. Alright, so check this out. Make sure it's unmuted.
You are now entering Silent Hill, or perhaps a dream world from Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm stuttering because I'm scared. Check it out. Where am I? Oh my gosh, what was that? Yeah, this is the hallway at my work now. So either Freddy Krueger came through here, or we're slowly becoming Silent Hill. Yeah. Or there was a really good party here.
Man, that eye roll thing got me in trouble so much. I involuntarily do that when I'm like making jokes sometimes. It pisses so many people off. Well, anyway, so that was the hallway at that job. And what had happened there was it was around Halloween, but what was funny was they were renovating the floor, so everything was all torn up, and you know they were gonna do new plaster or whatever the fuck. So like I saw that and I walk in there that day and I'm like, oh, this would make a really interesting video, and eventually it made that video where it was, or the way it was there. And so before that video I was demoing a shot with my camera phone, and I was like, okay, let me see how this looks, because I had kind of a garbage phone at the time, so I'm like, is the quality gonna be good? And I'm checking it out. Well, two of those girls from my previous team walked by, the one of them that betrayed me when I trained her, and then the other one was the asshole that you know, she's like, I taught you how to do that. How come you can't find it? Oh, I can't find it. That was that girl. Now, I see them walking by, like they're coming by me, and I'm like, okay. So I put my phone down. I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm like, oh, hi. Whatever, and they just keep walking. So I think nothing of it. I go back to making my shot. And as you see in the video, which I eventually had to provide proof to HR, by the way. More on that later. I didn't fucking take video of anybody, right? Well, the next day, because I made that video and whatever, so the next day my boss calls me to her desk and she's like, now John, so apparently you've been taking pictures of girls in the hallway? Like, the fuck, I was taking pictures of girls in the hallway? What are you talking about? And she's like, well, according to HR, you've been accused, and I don't know who accused you because the way that the process is, we don't know who the accusers are to protect the accusers. And I was just like, okay. So I explained to her, I'm like, look, I made a funny video, and here's the video. And as you can see, I didn't fucking take pictures of anybody. Like, the last two people I wanted pictures of at that job, you know. I don't even want to be reminded of the job because I hated it at that point. I'm like, the last two fucking pictures I'm going to take are them, you know, because, like, you know, full disclosure, one of them was like a super skinny redhead that had apparently done modeling. And she was like, I am not attracted to that at all. Sorry, not at all. Like, not even a little bit. Like, she was like borderline starving Somalian. That's how she looked, and whatever. She probably had eating disorders or whatever. And the other lady, she was just like assholey fat, you know, and just, you know, in general, just an asshole to me. And I just like didn't appreciate it. So I was like, okay, well, I treated you well. You treated me like shit. Fuck you. And that was that. Well, so I'm not taking pictures of them. What the fuck? So eventually it's all cleared up, but you know that stays on your record, right? So that was part of the reason why that and the idiots that were on my team, whatever they said about me and whatever went on my record, that basically prevented me from ever getting a promotion there. Like, they did all that shit on purpose. And that boss, by the way, she eventually turned on me as soon as she left the team. She basically got kicked out the team because she wasn't a team leader. She was like a car salesman or a salesperson. She was more like that because everything she would always blow off the team meetings. If you suggested like things to do for her, she wouldn't. It was one of those things to where occasionally we'd have a meeting and be like, okay guys, put the rally caps on. We got to solve this problem and figure out what we're gonna do because we're chronically understaffed. Even though she didn't say that, but that's exactly what was happening. So I made this really good suggestion that ended up getting used later after she left. She's like, "No, John, we can't do that." Well, why are you asking me for suggestions if you're just gonna shoot it down instantly? Like, can we at least try it out? No, John, no, we can't do that. And little did I know, she already had the answer. It was just one of those bullshit meetings where she was trying to get away from work for a bit. And I hate it when people do that shit, like they already know what they're gonna do, but they're like, "Oh, what do you guys think we're gonna do?" And pretend like they organically decided to do what she already wanted to do. A big fucking waste of time. Well, anyway, so, that lady later on, excuse me, she basically got kicked out of being a manager because she was a shitty manager. And she would never do team stuff, and, you know, I pretty much already, she was out for herself all the time, and that's why she left. And, well, anyways, so my new manager comes in, and of course my old manager and her, they're like friends, so my new manager's talking shit, or my old manager's talking shit on me to her all the time, so she's starting to treat me like that. And then she's like, "Oh, John, so for your yearly review, I had your old boss write it up." And I was like, "Oh, great, that should be good." And oh my god, dude, she proceeded to like tear into me, just like, "He could be so much better worker, and he apparently does this, and he goes on the internet, and he does this, that, and the other thing," and, you know, just like completely shredded me and treated me like shit. And I was just like, fuck, because there was a point in time where she would do this thing to where, like, she wasn't our manager anymore, but she's still emailing us, "You made this mistake, you need to do this and that." And I told her, I'm like, I caught her in one that she couldn't get out of. I was like, "Look, I'm like, show me in policies and procedures where I need to do this." And she like fucking flipped out on me. "Oh, you're a bitch, you're an asshole, you're teaching like this." Like, she sends me this email. And I show it to my boss, and I'm like, "Well, what should I do? Because I don't understand." Because I didn't want to, you know, unilaterally just start responding and start a flame war. Because she copies my boss. You know, that asshole move that people do. And I should have copied her boss. Looking back on it, I should have copied her boss. Like, why are you fucking... Because her boss hated her. I found out later, so I'm like, why are you fucking worrying about what your old team is doing? You got new shit to do over here. Well, I should have went to HR with that or copied her boss or something. I didn't, and that was a mistake. Because later on is when she did that review on me where she shredded me. But then the weird thing was, I figured out... they had this system at work. It was called... Well, I shouldn't say what it was called, but basically it was like a how productive are you, and blah, 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 blah. And what they wanted was one person to do the work of 1.5 to 2 people. So they could justify having lower staff costs, which in the end didn't work out well for them. I'll explain more on that later. And so what was weird was we had these year reviews, and I always scored. There was like a 5 score system. A 5 was the max you could get. I always got like 4.2, 4.3. I think I got a 4.8 one year. And then that year, when she did that, I got like a 3 point whatever the hell it was. And so your raise was always based off of whatever the performance review said. Or so I thought. It turned out that was just another colossal BS waste of time. That, like, they didn't really, you know, they weren't really invested in as a company, because even though they eviscerated me and tore me apart and my score was lower and all this other bullshit, I got the same exact raise I got the previous year. So it was all a gigantic fucking waste of time. Oh my god. When I found that out, dude, I was like, why did I invest in this if it doesn't mean anything? And so, well, anyway, so at that point, I said, look, like, I never want her to contact me again after this, because she's just harassing me at this point, and that's bullshit. And I refuted like 80% of all the stuff she said. And like, one of the things she complained about was, he answered his cell phone one day at work. And I was like, says the lady who's talking to her fucking husband and her fucking kids. I sat right next to her cubicle every fucking day on her work phone. Like, that makes that much better. And then my boss was like, "Oh, well, you might have a point there." And just like, so eventually when the cool director left, and it got replaced by a lady that was like, another person that was kind of like, well, I got nothing better to do but to harass everybody, so I'm going to go ahead and, you know, make sure everyone's following policy and procedure, which of course almost no one did, because if you followed policy and procedure, you didn't get the workload done, and then they're like, well, how come you didn't get the workload done? And it was another job too where, like, you know, I would do a good amount of work for what I had, but I wasn't like this speed demon that did like the work of 2 people, and that's who they wanted because they were chronically understaffing people. I remember we were at a meeting one time and the manager's like, you know, according to our numbers, we're supposed to have, like, in 4 departments, we're supposed to have about like 13 more people, but clearly we don't need that with the way that you guys produce, right? And like there was like this uneasy laughter, like, because like, yeah, we did need the fucking people, because we had like the way that you got a promotion there, besides kissing up to everybody. And one of the dudes that I had the issues with, although we eventually were cool with each other after a certain point, he told me one day, he's like, nah, John, look, like, I get here early, I start working, I work through my breaks, I work a little bit of overtime, I do it all off the clock, because usually they didn't let you stay overtime. And then, like, my boss would come up to me, like, you know, a couple weeks later or something, like, you only did 34 of such and such transaction. I was like, well, considering the time I had, that's a lot. And she's like, well, so-and-so does 58. And, like, I'd sit there and, like, when's the last time so-and-so took a break? It's like, oh, well, I didn't notice that. Like, you sit right next to him. It's just like, they were like so like middle management, dude. It's like, is there any bigger asshole in the universe than middle management in any job? Because it's like they're not technically like in charge per se, but they're in charge enough to just like crap on you whenever they get crapped on. So it was just like, eventually I got to the point where I was just like, oh my god, I need to quit this dumb job. Because it's just like, it's stressing me out, I'm miserable, I'm dealing with bullshit every day. And it's like, no matter what you do it according to the way they say, you do it more efficiently, you're fucked either way. So it was just like a really shitty thing. And I never appreciated, and especially with all the shit that's coming out now from like false accusations and, you know, people that will like make shit up just to fuck with you. And you're trying to be like a professional and a nice person and stuff. I never appreciated that. And I hate banks just for that, like in general. And like I said, I will never work one. So I quit that in 2016. And it was funny. I gave my 2 weeks notice. And my boss, I found out like an hour after I gave my notice that they had a plan. They were all going to, the new director, along with my current boss and then our work director, they were all going to come to my desk and like, you have such and such violations of, you know, you're not supposed to have this information and that information and whatever. And like, if I would have been trying to keep my job, that would have stressed me out even more, because they were giving me so many functions at that point. They were paying me such a crap wage, and the economy was starting to pick up. I was just like, you know, I don't really need this anymore. Like, I don't need this stress. And one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, guys. One of the best decisions, because it was like, a lady I was working with, she's like, wow. Like, after I get my notice, she's like, the stress is just completely gone from your face. And I remember that. I was like, yeah, I feel like so much better now that I'm not invested in everything that goes on around here. And so and anyways, I found a job after that that treated me better. I could work part-time, and that was when I really kicked off my streaming career as well. As soon as I quit that, like within 2 months, I was starting to like make themes and stream on Twitch more, etc. So, and that's my goal eventually, is to be able to be enough of an entrepreneur that, you know, passively just off YouTube, Twitch, and whatever else I got going on, eventually maybe sponsorships in the future. You know, if I feel like it, I might get into Patreon and whatever else, then, you know, that's what I eventually want to do, is just have so much free time that I can come and share things with you guys and my experiences and some wisdom if I have it. I'm sure I got a little bit there. And but so that's basically my story, guys. I know it was long and convoluted, but I get a lot of people saying, please tell me stories, tell stories, your stories are the best. So there you go. And there was lots of good times at the bank, but it's like I said, that there is, and I keep it to this day, there is this mark I have of how you treat me. And if you treat me a certain way, then I don't invest in you at all, and I don't care what you say, even if I have to see you every day. And so, like you'll notice, occasionally someone will walk into the stream on my Twitch, and they'll say like some snide asshole comment as their introduction to me. And I just ban them on the spot, and they'll come back on to say, "Well, why did you ban me? Because you're an asshole." I'm like, no, like if you meet someone new for the first time and you decide to be a dick, why do I fucking want that around me? Like, I can go stress myself out. I don't need you. So, well, you're a dick. Well, clearly, I don't need you. Click. And off you go. But, so, and that's the thing, guys. Like, invest in your own self-worth, man. Don't be like, do not let other people dictate to you what your self-worth is. If you know you're better than your current situation, then keep dealing with it until you can figure out a way out of it. Start figuring out ways out of it. Start planning. Start saving money or doing whatever you need to do. Contact whoever you need to do and get the fuck out of the situation. That's what I'm doing with my living situation right now. And then, you know, at that point, man, do as you please. Only people you should answer to, your spouse. You know, you gotta be responsible if you have kids. Whoever you work for that hopefully pays you a fuck ton of money, and that's it. Don't answer to no one else. You know, you answer to yourself at that point. Like, you got responsibilities, but answer to yourself. Be good to yourself. Don't treat yourself like garbage. Don't do your best to lift yourself up, man. Just keep lifting yourself up all throughout your life, because that's the way. Don't tread water, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. Don't tread water. Always be growing, always be learning, always be willing to listen, always be willing to do better, always try harder, even if you fail. Because I notice in society now, there's this big emphasis on not failing. It's just like, failure is one of the greatest things in the world, guys. You know why? Because you learn from that experience and it fucking burns in you. And you think, I'm not going to let that shit happen again. I got to do better. And eventually you surpass whatever it is. And you get that good feeling, you know? Just, I did it. I accomplished something. I'm better than that. You know? So, anyways, I guess I've rambled on long enough. So, that's my first stories, guys. I got plenty of stories to tell you guys, but this will be my first one for now. I want to see how the reactions to it are. So, let me know what you guys thought. And once again, don't work for a bank unless you're a lady, you're a beta male. Because the beta males get all the promotions just because they're wacky and entertaining. And that's fine, whatever. If you like that, go for it. Yeah, but it is super hostile towards, like, your typical guys. And I don't know why. It's weird because, like, I'm not like the grunter. I'm not hitting on people. I'm not like, you know, well, abortion should be banned. Like, I'm not saying shit like that. Like, So I don't understand why everyone just treated me like shit, but for whatever reason. And it wasn't everybody. It was probably like, but it was enough people that it was just so annoying. It's just like, I'm just trying to survive and live. Like, why are you treating me like I'm leading a charge, a cavalry charge against your family? I don't know. But anyways, guys. Alright, dudes. I'll catch you later on. Peace out.